All right, obviously we have to break it all down, right?
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Break it all down or build it all up, I don't know, it's all cliche, but look, we had a lot of cliche last minute flurry in this election season, and we had some bombs thrown that even I thought were surprising, almost shocking. It's great to have you in. Thanks very much for tuning in to my State of Mind this evening. I'm going to forego running down the issues of the day and get into a good conversation with a guy who has unique context for these local elections. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about the national climate as well. But my friend Joe Cammarano from Providence College, who is an esteemed political scientist, former chair, he's kind of stepping off the pedal a little bit, is local enough to get what's going on and big picture enough to bring interesting perspectives. So with no further ado, here's the first headline. The governor's race won by Dan McKee by 2.5 percentage points-ish over Helena Bonanno Folks, and then Nellie Gorbea with a strong third. But for those who are punditing on the race, Joe, a disappointing third, no doubt, for Nellie Gorbea. Welcome, my friend.
Great to be here as always, particularly no longer being chair.
No longer being chair. There's two things. He's no longer chair, and we, for years now, don't make any predictions.
Right. Yeah, Gorbea was a disappointment. She was a very strong candidate. She was polling even or ahead early on. But when you run as the good government reformist, you better make sure that nothing that is a counter-narrative happens. And I think it hurt her a lot to have the problem with the voting systems during the very campaign she was running. And she also didn't perform well at the debates. And so I think she kind of fizzled in a way that nobody really was expecting. Folks, on the other hand, probably stole a lot of that thunder away because she was very formidable. And came
Formidable
out
in the debates, you mean?
Formidable in debates. I think she clearly has a very professional staff that worked very hard putting up policy documents that are important in the better educated liberal towns where she did really well. And that probably took some votes away from Nellie. I think the real spoiler was Matt Brown. I think McKee won because Matt Brown was in the race.
Elaborate.
I think that Matt Brown, particularly in the towns that Folks was counting on.
Brown grabbed, what, 10%?
Yeah, somewhere, 8 to 10%. But that
which is where he was in the polls the entire way.
Exactly. But that 8 to 10% was not going to go to McKee. These were people further left of McKee. McKee was the most conservative in the race, not that he's conservative at all. But out of all the candidates, he was the closest to the center. Brown was further over. I guess Munoz was a little further over than that. And so the Brown voters probably would have gone to either Gorbea or to Folks. And so if Brown wasn't in the race, it's quite possible that the 2-3%.
Well, it's really funny and smart that you say that, because I think you're absolutely correct. And what's really interesting about these multi-candidate races is that you've got to be very careful, especially if you're Dan McKee. And again, full disclosure, I say it in every television and radio show that we talk about the governor's race. I'm a friend of Dan McKee's. I voted for Dan McKee. I'd like to see him continue as governor. And I've done a little volunteer work for them. So I have that relationship with you. You need to know that because you just should know that. It's true. Yeah. I think I can still see the race for what it is and talk about it clinically. But that being said, having some insight into the McKee campaign, one of the things that you had to be wary of is not to beat up Matt Brown so much that he would find it unworthy or unrealistic to stay in the race, because if he had plopped out those numbers begin to shuffle. Those that 10% of numbers began to shuffle.
Right. And I'm thoroughly convinced that Matt Brown has a larger, longer-term purpose to running for governor in this race, and that is to either move the Democratic Party over toward Bernie Sanders territory or to start a third party, a very progressive leftist party in the state. And so, the team that he set up that had a slate of candidates and ran together did fairly well. So I think Brown wasn't going to leave the race.
Well, we know the progressive movement has made headway in the General Assembly over the last couple of elections.
Right.
Guilty have not done a real calculation as to the whole plus and minuses in the complexion of the General Assembly just yet from the election, but they didn't lose ground, let's put it that way. And some of the winners who were surprise winners 2 years ago were able to sustain their seats. And so, yeah, he's got a bigger purpose. I wouldn't say it is more benevolent, but it's purposeful. I mean, he was accused as a bomb thrower in this race, and he certainly was. But he was at a comfortable place, right, to toss those bombs because everybody knew he wouldn't win.
Right.
And so he actually played proxy for the other two candidates, Gorbea and Folks. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, in some ways.
At least when it came to the attacks on McKee is my point.
Yeah, my best guess is that, because Matt Brown is smart, he understood that he might end up making sure McKee gets in, particularly since Folks took off. But, I think it serves a broader purpose because McKee's gonna win the general election because of all the candidates, he's the closest to the center. And where are the people on the left gonna go? So, I think Brown did McKee a favor even if he wasn't intending to.
Yeah, see, I see some silliness.
I think Folks would have won if Brown had pulled out.
Okay.
That's my instinct.
I see some silliness even today as we record this show on Thursday, and you're seeing it on Friday and Sunday, that the Ashley Kalus, Republican gubernatorial candidate campaign, is licking its chops over Dan McKee versus the others. That's baloney. That's baloney in the sense that I know on an off-the-record basis that they know that it would have been there would have been a compatibility comparison between, say, she and Helena Folks that would have been kind of a both women, both business, both successful, allegedly, folks much more than Kalus, but all of that. This contrast is much more difficult. And as we see today, I just showed you an ad that came up on my phone. She is just going to load up another couple $1 million and try to beat the living tar out of him as if he is John Gotti.
Right, as if he's under indictment. Which, I watched McKee's celebratory speech. I watched Folks' concession
The phone call,
speech.
you mean the whole thing?
Yeah, I do think McKee had an unforced error. Off the cuff, just blurting out, hang up on them, because I don't think there's a lot of good feelings, and a winning candidate probably should think about being nicer.
Well, look, he's
tell her we'll call her back.
Well, in a moment, interesting. I think he was as aggravated with his staffer who gave the phone to him that he was with the phone call. And by the way, the staffer, Eva Marie Mancuso, I think is a star in his administration. So, everyone has a moment, right? Everyone just has a moment.
Yeah.
And listen, I was there. And I know that he had been delayed well past his comfort zone, well past the numbers speaking for themselves.
Right.
Folks wouldn't give it up.
Right.
And so finally he went out, and then all of a sudden they're going to make this phone call.
Right. Because they
can see on the screen, by the way, that he's out there, and they're making the phone call.
I know.
So, but to his credit, today on the radio and beyond, he said, look, our bad, I shouldn't have done that, I'm meeting with her, they're having lunch, they're working it out. I don't think this is a story next week.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a major detail. Now, I got to be honest. In the prepared part of the speech, he thanked her.
Yeah.
And so, I think that was the intention. But, I'd be mad too if somebody was saying, you're going to be under indictment for corruption.
The ad the last day The worst governor in America.
Yeah.
The worst governor in America.
Right.
Anyway,
I know, which is empirically untrue. It's maybe the least popular in the stuff where we have reliable polls, but that doesn't mean anything because the polls were during an election season.
And also the polls are at the tail end of his governance. He hadn't even started campaigning yet.
Exactly.
And by the way, it's a Morning Consult poll that they point to, which is a national poll.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Did I hear you make a prediction on the governor's race in the middle of that dissertation?
No, I don't make predictions.
Did you say he would win the general election?
I
You
would
did.
say that.
You said that.
All right,
the
I'll tell you
tape.
what. I'll tell you what.
Roll the tape. You did say that.
Okay.
You broke your vow.
I'll tell you what. This time I really will promise. I'll move across the border into Massachusetts if I'm wrong on this one, because I think it's so improbable that the probability is close to zero that someone like Kalis, with no experience, no roots, a lot of money, and possibly a vendetta, is going to be somebody who's been here all his life. Particularly, McKee did really well in the traditional Democratic towns where the more conservative, more moderate, economic-focused Democrats. So if you look where he won Cumberland, of course, he won Lincoln, he won North Providence, he won Johnston, he won Cranston, I believe.
Yes, for the first time.
And then he won all the W's. If you take the towns with a W, he won all of them. Westerly, Woonsocket, Warwick, West Warwick. He got more votes than anyone else. So it's an old-fashioned Rhode Island Democratic Party victory.
All right, very good. When we come back, we'll check into the congressional race situation and beyond. Stay with us. So this was the no surprise. The only surprise is that he got 54%. Over four of the candidates. I thought maybe he'd be hovered in there in the high 40s, but Seth Magaziner, demonstrably won that congressional race. By the way, to go back on the governor's race, this is a lot of, the governor, but he could only get 33%. The dynamics of the governor's race and 5 candidates was wholly different than the dynamics of the CD2 race and 5 candidates. Don't you agree?
I agree, and there were 4 very good and 5 good candidates in the Democratic primary for governor.
All of whom?
They're all good, smart candidates.
Oh, for governor?
Yeah, for governor.
Well, I would actually argue, too.
Yeah. And for the House, someone who had worked for Langevin.
Joy Fox?
Joy Fox.
Sarah Morgenthau had an incredible resume.
Exactly.
Perhaps the only one you could say, Omar Ba had no real, in the congressional race.
He did well in Providence.
Well, he should. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of great refugee work there. David Siegel had a track record, but look, Magaziner's got the treasurer incumbency and a boatload of dough, and is just forecast as the one that's going to face off against Alan Fung, and it was a fait accompli, right?
Yeah, I think Seth Magaziner was the strongest candidate and remains the strongest candidate who ran against Fung. Yeah.
So I said recently that I think that we'll see this pollable 5-6 point spread with Alan Fung reportedly leading any candidate and Magaziner that's now probably 6 weeks old evaporate quickly. In fact, Magaziner said to me yesterday, Wednesday for you, on the radio when I asked, do you go in as a as an upstart, or do you feel like the favorite? I mean, are you a? And he said, I'm the favorite, and I thought it was an interesting tack to take. He said, you're going to see that the data is actually going to change very quickly as the Democrats across the country are getting a little bit more momentum coming back. Biden has jumped back about 8 points. He feels like the composite of the race will actually change earlier than later. What do you think?
I think he's correct about that. And again, from a political science perspective, this is a nationalized district, meaning whatever's happening at the national level is going to determine who wins this. It leans Democratic. It might be classified as a toss-up at some point, but it leans Democratic, and if the winds go in the Democratic direction on the national level, Magaziner should win by 4 to 8 points.
About
should. 4 to 8 points, probably.
Right.
You know, not as
Ish.
much as Langevin, not by the margins that Langevin had, but by more like the one, you know, like Cicilline won before they redistricted.
You know, it's so funny, and I'm sure you talk about this. I talk about this on the air all the time. There's a 30 to 35% opposition candidate guarantee. If you can walk and chew gum, it's kind of like if you signed your SATs back in the day. We used to, you know, if you filled out the form, you got 200 points in math and 200 points in English. It's like a 30 to 35%. You get it because the world's mad at the incumbent. Period. Anyway, turnout, and then you work from there. And those who get to like 45%. You know, have done an admirable job, but the race is in between 47 and 53, right?
That's right.
And that's where the meat of the race is won.
That's right.
It's a very hard 6-point place to penetrate.
I think that's exactly right.
Why is it?
Well, you know, districts are drawn very carefully. People like to think that they're open-minded and independent thinkers, but most of us actually already have made our decision before we even know who the candidate is. We just don't want to consciously acknowledge that because we don't think that's true. We literally, you know, think it's not true, but it is. So only about 20% of anybody in any election can move. And out of that, half and half are on each side, so it's really 10%. So there's a tiny bit of the voting population that will actually be swayed by the campaign. Campaigns don't matter anywhere near as much as we think they do.
I mentioned in my Valley Breeze column this week that it was inevitable that the governor's race was going to get personal because you have at least platform like-minded candidates who really had nothing left but to go after each other on a personal level. And that's what this thing deteriorated into. I mean, yeah, there were differences, but not very broad differences. Now, with Fung and Magaziner, they have arguments. There's a right and left. There are Republican and Democratic arguments. Will that mean that the contest will stay argumentative on issues, or do you still think it gets down into personal attacks?
So the academic research on this is that the front runner or the incumbent doesn't go negative unless they absolutely must. But the challenger often goes negative because they're behind. And so the person who's behind is going to go negative. So look for, I'm assuming, when the polls come out and shows one person.
But
they'll go negative.
Negative, but listen, there's these categories of negative.
Well,
I'm negative on the issues. He's MAGA, he's Trump, he's this, he's that. But negative, he's a bank robber is a whole different story, right?
I think what you're going to see is that if Fung goes negative, he's probably going to go personal on Magaziner, because he can't go personal. He can't go on the issues because those are issues that might actually gain votes for the Democrat. If Magaziner goes negative, he's going to go negative on issues because that's what's going to get him elected, because the national trend is for Republicans being seen as more and more extreme, and that helps Democrats.
Roe v. Wade overturn is pivotal, isn't it?
I think it very well could be in this race, yeah. Yeah, that Samuel Alito might have sealed the deal for the Democrats in that district.
What about nationally?
All the models suggest the Republicans are going to take the House and the Democrats are going to retain the Senate. There are about 4 different academic models.
But reportedly the models are tightening for the Democrats in the House.
That's right. It is tightening. In order, the national lead that the Democrats need in order to get the House in these models is about 4 or 5%. So right now it's around 2, maybe 3. And so the model that Jim Campbell at SUNY Buffalo sort of puts out says that the Democrats are going to lose about 30 to 40 seats.
That's significant.
Yeah. They're going to have 190. And the Republicans will have a majority.
All right, when we come back, though, the president is faring better, and a thought about the monarchy. We'll see how far the political scientists can go across the pond. Stay with us. So yeah, I mentioned, listen, Joe Biden had been in the 33-35% approval rating, really having a difficult time here a couple of months ago, but with some Democratic legislative wins and some initiatives that he has, and maybe it's some of the Supreme Court as well. He's reportedly up in the 45% area again, which is kind of where most presidents have hovered for I mean, it's the new last 30-year comfort zone for an incumbent president, right?
Yeah, you know, presidents see a natural decline in their first term until there's some sort of point of comparison. But I do think, you know, the trends that he has no control over first hurt him, and now we're helping him. You know, that gas prices, that he got some policy victories, and we're starting to see increasingly clear contrast between Democrats and Republicans, and it's naturally going to help him.
I mean, heavens, I'm not ready to talk about 2024.
No, me neither. And I don't make predictions.
Yeah, I know. Do you think he stays in the hunt if his health remains status?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, I think that, you know, politicians feel so hyper responsible, and their egos are big enough to think that they're the only ones who can save us from the other people. And
so everything being status quo with his health and welfare, you think he is the candidate in 24?
Oh yeah. And I think most Democrats think he's probably, most insiders think he's going to do it.
We lost the Queen. You and I, contemporaries, have never known anything but a Queen Elizabeth in the monarchy. Thought on the monarchy and whether it survives?
Well,
it seems to me there's a renewed, devotion to it or to her. Which one is it?
Yeah, we call that the recency effect. We pay attention to the most recent stuff, and we think that that's a trend. You know, it'll subside. I think he's transitioning out of the people conceptually out of the monarchy, but that's not going to happen at least for 2 more kings or queens.
2 more kings or queens?
Yeah, I think probably his son and possibly one of his grandchildren.
I just can't figure out how you shut down a monarchy. What do you do?
Well, you do what Sweden and Denmark and all the other countries that have these titular monarchs. It'll still be a constitutional monarchy, but they'll strip them of any kind of prestige or authority, and probably a good deal of their wealth.
It's all about the money, isn't it? It's all about the budget, no matter what.
You know, and one thing about King Charles that I say will matter is that they own so much land in areas that could be fracked, that when he's king, he's probably never going to allow that to happen.
Well, anyway,
you know a little bit.
It will be, if you're watching this on Sunday, Friday or Sunday, the funeral is Monday, and it will be a worldwide spectacular, won't it be? It'll be something. Everybody will be glued. All right, my friend, insight, terrific. Thank you, appreciate it. We'll have you in certainly before the election if you can accommodate. Final word when we come back. See ya. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Of course, a lot of eyes and ears will be on the Queen's funeral, and we'll talk about it next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good night.